And we're back with Week 5 of the Backyard Baseball Online League.
Bring it on.
This week, I'm up against Tusk Healer, who is a coach in the Backyard Conference, Backyard Division. We're back to playing coaches in our own league, our own half of the league, rather. And you'll see that the portrait of my team there with all Tony Del Vecchios is new. That's because I've traded away a couple of players, Hillary Vargas and Jorge Garcia. And in exchange, I've received Alicia Blakely and Gwen Sears. Yes, that's right. I view this as almost a strict upgrade. I guess I can't break down exactly what I've lost. I could if I were to pour over the stat sheet, but right now what I'm looking at is my lineup change. Gwen is fast, probably the fastest player on my team, given that she has 7 speed, like Claudia and Wally, but she has more stamina than either of them, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to try her out first in the lineup, I believe. I'm also putting her at shortstop. She's the Alex Gonzalez clone. She doesn't have a good eye, but shortstops don't necessarily need a great eye. What they need is decent arm strength or good arm strength, and speed and coordination. And she has those things. Gwen has those things. If you've been paying close attention to how I've been setting up my team, you'll notice that I made a pretty big mistake. My typical starting pitcher is out in right field. He has the same appearance as my pitcher. So I've got Chucky Flinder, who is thankfully my relief pitcher, on the mound to start the game. That was a complete oversight by me, but it's okay. We're going to start out pitching with him. So Tusk Healer has what I would say is a fairly balanced team. He has, for example, only one batter with 4 speed. Everybody else almost everybody else is 6 or above. He has a couple 5 speeds, one of whom, Mo Vaughn, is the player that Alicia Blakely, my new first baseman, is based on. He's got a ton of stamina, so functionally on the base path, he's more than a 5 speed. You can just sprint with him without too much of an impact on his juice. Speaking of Mo Vaughn, there he is. Second batter in Tusk Healer's lineup.
Okay.
Here's where I decide to correct my mistake. We are going to swap Fernando onto the mound. Put Chucky behind the plate. I think this is what I settle on right here. Yeah. So now we've got my regular starting pitcher back up. We get lucky here. And Mo just hits a little pop-up to the catcher. He's one of the home run threats on Tusk's team, so I'm glad to see him headed back to the bench. Now we've got Horace Young. That's in the zone. Yep. I'm not sure what Tusk was swinging at there. Yeah, I would also want a do-over if I were him. Great start to the inning. Couple strikeouts. Fernando still with almost all of his juice since we accidentally started with Chucky. So a 1-2-3 inning. We're going to see if Tusk can do the same to me. Here's Gwen Sears, my first time batting with her this season. Whitney Singh, his starting pitcher, has a great pitch selection, but not a lot of stamina. So you already know, if you've been watching my videos this season, what the strat is. Not going to bother repeating it. So I am batting grounder. I think Gwen is probably the only batter who I'm going to be looking for grounders with. And that's a low pitch right there. Low pitches are conducive to grounders, as far as I'm aware. So she gets a nice bounce. Tusk does not manually field that one. Manually fielding, I mean, is difficult. It's a difficult task. Oh, you hate to see that. Am I crazy, or isn't it a rule that if a ball is fair and it gets past third base or first base, and it then, rolls foul, having already passed the bag, isn't that ball still, good? Isn't it still in play? Maybe I'm just crazy? Unfortunately, we hit a little dribbler to Whitney, but it's fine. We did advance Gwen to second base, so now we're going to try to hit her home with Cheryl. In my most recent video, I talked about wanting to hit with line drive with Cheryl because I was not performing very well when I'd selected power. But when I got up 1-0 in the count, I thought the better of it. I absolutely should have swung at that. I thought, well, if I'm up in the count, he's going to have to throw, solidly in the zone. And sure enough, we get a meaty pitch there, and that is a home run and a half. This is why I drafted Cheryl in the first round.
Not bad for a kid.
All right. Solid start. My first time batting with Alicia, the Mo Vaughn clone. You can see she's got a big old strike zone despite being a generic kid. Since she's a clone of a pro, she gets the strike zone of the pro, as well as the height. As soon as I see Mo flub this ball, I am sprinting with Alicia. Go, go, go. Unfortunately, his outfielder, I believe that's Horace Young there in right field, does spike the ball rather than getting off the throw. Horace with only mediocre arm strength, so I believe I would have been safe, but still not some bad RNG there, I would say. Not manually fielding that grounder with Mo on the bounce was, that would have been great for Tusk if he had been able to get Mo positioned correctly with a manual click. Especially since he's got enough height that he probably could have fielded that. Wally sends this ball long, and it is going to fall. So there we see, there's a demonstration of Horace's actual arm strength. You can see it is pretty mediocre, but I didn't want to sprint home with Alicia. I think she probably would have been thrown out. Here's Artie. Good old Artie Pimpleton. I think he went hitless last week, which is surprising for him. I don't believe I should have swung at that. I think it probably would have ended up left of the zone. But I am rather eager to get some more runs on the board. A bit antsy, perhaps. Yeah, we're going for that. Straight through the gap. And we run with Artie so that I can send Wally home. That's the classic CPU trick. You send someone to second. Well, when I say CPU trick, what I mean is that's a way that you can get cheap runs against the CPU. You send somebody to second, and then as soon as the CPU player tries to make a play, you send your runner on third home. If you're listening to this and you're newer to the league, I would recommend just letting the base runner get to second. Don't give up the free run. Swinging at that. Yeah. Okay. Now this is, of course a substantial lead after just one inning, but Tusk was able to mitigate some of the damage there. Didn't let me get all the way through my lineup. And now his cleanup hitter in the 4-hole, Jay Green, is up to bat. And he hits a bomb, but Claudia is fast enough to get there and make the grab. Fortunate for me that he did not send that out. Now we've got Gary Allen, an 89 power hitter, another home run threat. Nice eye there for my opponent. I'm going to keep targeting, you know, the corners. Keep the ball outside as much as I can. You can see that little micro adjustment there. Wise not to swing at that. That's a ball for sure. That looks like it's going to be in the zone. I do believe that would have been called a strike. Yeah, so the switch for my opponent to a squared batting stance there was, I would say, a misplay. You got to keep it on open to hit a ball like that effectively. Nice one hopper to Wally. He just relays it straight to Alicia. Now if that ball had bounced, like taken an errant bounce, as grounders sometimes do on this field, he might have overshot it or undershot it. And you know, when I saw him hit that grounder, I was prepared for that outcome. I just wanted to let it happen manually. While I was talking about the previous at-bat, or the at-bat 2 batters ago, I should say, Chucky made it to first, and now we've got Gwen back up. So I have made it around my order once. Not going for... Ooh, I do switch to a grounder here. Okay. Now there, I do believe that Tusk, if he'd been a little quicker on the draw, could have gotten the double play. You saw there was a pause after his shortstop stepped on second base. If he had immediately clicked on Mo on first base, I think he probably could have gotten the DP. But as it is, we've got Claudia up. We're swinging at that all day. Whitney's definitely getting tired. She's got only like 25 stamina, I believe. We're swinging at that too. Yep. Should be a catch. Oh, but that little adjustment there from his... Yeah, and you can see... I think I make a mistake here. Oh, nope. It is Jay Green who makes the mistake. See, the reason for that is because his pitcher, Whitney, was covering third base. Oftentimes, when your pitcher is covering a base and you try to throw to them, the throw will be inaccurate. I think I talked about this last week. Big hit from Cheryl. It doesn't look like it's going to go outside, out of the park, but it does because of the wonky fences online. So we're up 7-0 in the second inning. We're like... What more could I ask for? Sometimes in these situations, I feel kind of bad about like putting up so many runs so quickly. I think it happened last week where in the first inning I scored 6 runs. But I have, in those situations this season, I have seen my opponents tighten up their defense and their pitching in response. So that's what I'm hoping for here as well. Swing at that. Yeah. There's Francesca making the grab. She has a great actually looking at her eye here, is that a 73? A decent eye. good enough that she was able to make that catch, rob Mo of a potential double if it had gotten past her. Should not have swung at that. I don't believe. It's okay though. You could see when Tusk's second baseman, the guy with the black hair there, Gary Allen, when he dove the other way to get the ball, that was he was manually fielding at first. And then Tusk did try to make a... I'm sorry, he was automatically fielding at first, and Tusk did try to make a manual adjustment when he dove the opposite direction, but it was not in time. But my opponent had the right idea there. Just needed to be a little quicker on the draw. A crazy pitch from Angelique, who has a 100 out of 100 heater and fools me with it right there. A well-placed pitch. So as soon as he gets Whitney off the mound and puts Angelique on, immediate results. Angelique also with more stamina than Whitney. But she's probably going to throw a lot of fastballs since that's her most accurate pitch. So I'll be looking for those when I'm back up to bat. For now, we're pitching to Debbie Nagasawa. Definitely a threat. Something like 85 power, 95 contact. But not enough speed to beat Alicia to the bag there. She would need to be a lot faster than her 6 speed to make it. Here's Whitney, who I know has got to be gassed, super tired. I'm going to pitch high on this one, and I just get a wild pitch. Sometimes that happens. Honestly, that was not bad speed from Whitney for somebody who was probably so worn out. But Fernando does have the arm to get her out, and I believe, do I make a mistake here? No. Ooh, look at that. Did you see how what's her name? Alicia managed to field that ball despite it not even looking like it was anywhere near her? That's because she, despite being a generic, is a clone of a 4-height player. So she's got a big catch box. So she will catch balls that it doesn't appear as though she is positioned to catch. Is that a strike? Yep. That's fine, though. We let that go. Ambiguous pitches we'll pass up. So this is, as always, post-game commentary. And I believe this is like a super long at-bat. Oh, I'm mistaken. At some point in this game, there will be like a really long at-bat. Maybe just long by my standards. But it's like 7 or 8 pitches where I keep fouling stuff off. Which is great. Sometimes a low contact hitter on your team can be useful for that purpose. Fouling off a lot of pitches to tire out or frustrate the opponent. Got my 9th batter at the bottom of the order. Back up. I think I swung a little early there. That's going to be a strike, yeah? No. Okay. And I spotted that it was a ball. Looks like in-game me is better than commentary me. Let that go. Yep. Swing at that. Maybe this is the long at-bat that I was thinking of. I remember it happening like midway through the game. Yeah, this is probably it. Another foul off. Now, I don't assume that my opponent is going to throw too many ambiguous pitches because Chucky is not the greatest hitter. I would not be aiming for the corners against him. And that is just, I think, Probably a miscalculation. Against Chucky, who is fairly slow and doesn't have the best bat, you can afford to pitch to contact. Since he is slow, we're going to need to give him a little bit of a head start there. And my opponent does not have... In fact, that's Whitney Singh, their starting pitcher. They're at catcher. And she's gassed out, so she's not going to be able to throw out a 5-speed even. Chucky, not the sort of player I would usually steal with, but he got there. Probably should have let that go. Nice snag from Debbie there. Honestly, a clutch catch, because if that had made it through, and even if Chucky hadn't scored and he had just gotten to third, the top of my order, you know, Gwen there, who just got out, was at the top of my order, so major threats were coming up. I could have increased, you know, my lead to 8-9 if that had made it past Debbie. Unfortunately, Jordan, who is at the top of Tusk's order, has now struck out twice in a row. But he's got Mo up now, looking to get on base. My opponent's still hitless. Since Mo is a strong batter, I'm going to be careful where I pitch. Pitch in the corners. And he's way up in the count now, but I'm not going to change my strategy. We still pitch to the corners. Yeah, that looks like 4 straight balls. That's fine. Next up is Horace Young. Not a major home run threat at 78 power. In fact, I wouldn't call him a home run threat at all. But just as I say that, it's going, gone. So Tusk on the board. Love to see that. In fact, that is my opponent's first hit of the game, as Mo reached on a walk. If you're gonna get a first hit, a home run is probably what everybody would prefer. Now we've got another home run threat, a legitimate one, up to bat. Jay Green. And you can see I'm aiming my pitches way outside the zone. At least I am with the right hook, which has a kind of a wider radius. This looks like a strike to me. Yep.
Not bad for a kid.
This looks like it's in. Nope.
No fair.
Haven't had a lot of my opponents use emotes so far this season. Tusk is repping for the emote gang. Ball, I think? Ooh. Never mind. I really should use my more juice at this point, because Gary Allen is his second strongest batter. So when I am aiming these right hooks, there's a real risk that they end up inside the zone. And I don't want to, I don't want to pitch inside the zone. I do get an idea to use an elevator here, though. Try to bait him into swinging at something low. He does not go for it. Kind of surprised, honestly, that I wasn't able to bait him successfully. Nice discipline. That, though, he swings at, and that was... If he had held off there, he would have gotten first. Would have been a walk. All right, Claudia. Let's see what she can do. me take a little sip of water here. There you go. 2 for 2 with 2 homers. This is what I love to see from Cheryl. Looks like Tusk is pitching quite carefully to Cheryl. And in fact, it seems to be an intentional walk. So that being the case, I'm going to swing at this pitch. No reason not to. Just get a little more stamina off Angelique's straw. The game freezes here for a second. When you saw his Whitney, his catcher there, do a little face plant, and I was like, oh no. But we're back. Alicia back up to bat. We're swinging at that. Oh yeah. All day. I think I make an error here. So he is messing around in the outfield. Finally gets it to the infield. And I accidentally allow Alicia to reach second, which means I can't turn Cheryl around. So that is that's a mistake on my part. We do score a run on the play. So that's a ribby for Alicia, who ends up on second. But kind of disappointed in myself that I made that error. It's fine, though. We swing a little early there, and it works out. Nearly gets me there with a throw from Jay to whoever's at second base. So what you're seeing right now is his pitcher is frozen, and you can't interact with them. You can't throw to them. They won't move. So here in DMs, I tell Tusk what he needs to do is throw to an outfielder and do not let the outfielder catch the ball. So he has the right idea there, but you need to make sure that nobody gets it. So this will go on for just a short while longer, I think.
Let's go, team. Let's go. That's away.
Throws it to Jordan there, and he's going to keep Jordan away from it, I believe. Yeah, there we go. That kills the play, and then we can move on. When you play in this league, there are some strange quirks that you have to learn to navigate. That's one of them. Looks like we're in for a pitching change here. This is a timeout my opponent called. I consider making, some defensive changes to my own squad, but everybody, seems to be pretty energetic, so... yeah, that's gone, and so we're into double figures now. Pretty surprising to see that come from Artie, although when I was doing a whole bunch of practice games, scrimmages, like before the season even started, Artie was hitting a home run every few games, despite his 67 out of 100 power. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but he's got those. His first home run of the season, honestly, I'm going to predict that it won't be his last, but of course I don't see him putting up, Cheryl numbers. I would even guess that, Alicia on my squad will end up with more home runs than Artie by the end of the year. I think we're sprinting with Donald here. Yeah. There's a bit of, like, the game kind of hitches there. Bit of, I don't know if it's lag necessarily. And it certainly didn't impact the play. You know, I was spam clicking sprint, so. That is fine. Fernando, not my weakest hitter statistically, or rather he is my weakest hitter statistically. Not my weakest hitter in terms of the in-game stats. But he's been having some trouble this season. I do like seeing him up so far in the count, though. We're going to let this next pitch go no matter what. Yeah, that's fine. And that's just a little bit high. Fernando actually manages to get on base. Wonder of wonders. Of course, it doesn't count as a hit, so his batting average remains dismal. Like, I'm pretty sure he's under 100. That's going to be a quick third out. So there is a mercy rule in this league, and that is after the completion of at least 3 innings, if a team is ever winning by 10 or more, you can activate the mercy rule. You don't have to. But I'm not quite there yet. That's low. That's also going to be a ball, I believe. Maybe not. You know, ambiguous enough and far enough in the corner, in any case, that Francesca can only foul it off. A huge hit out to Claudia, who makes the grab. And Debbie, one of his strongest batters, up now as well. Good eye from Tusk there, letting that go. Another hit to Claudia, and she is immediately, positioned to catch that one, and she does. Love to see that. So now Whitney's been off the mound for a little while. A bit of a wild pitch there. Whitney has been off the mound for a while, so her speed is probably back. Which means I'm going to have to, snag this ball quick in order to throw her out. Easy. Laser beam from Donald. Okay, the top of my order is coming up. So I do remember this at-bat. I'm recording this commentary, very shortly after the game ended. First I had some fish and chips, and then I hopped on Audacity to record the commentary. I do remember this at-bat specifically. I remember kind of alternating between grounder and line drive based on where I thought Mo was going to throw the ball. Because grounder works better against low pitches, and line drive works better against pitches that are, in the middle and higher. Spam clicking sprint there, and we nearly made it, but Whitney's arm, she's got enough stamina now that her slightly above average arm was sufficient to get the out. Nice hit from Claudia there. That little micro adjustment may have cost him. I don't know. Maybe it was necessary. Like maybe he made the right call and just got unlucky, but I'm so greedy to go for power here. A huge hit. And he runs past the ball, unfortunately. I'm thinking to myself, inside the park homer. But no. And I'll be honest, Tusk was fortunate there that that throw from Mo, a 4 height, did not sail over his third baseman's head because Gary is a 2 height. So that could have easily been an overthrow, and then Claudia would have made it home. Oh, I'm sorry. Cheryl would have made it home. But that would have been, you know, fairly demoralizing. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe I mistimed it. Maybe not. Not the best hit from Alicia, but that's fine. Look at Wally's stat line there. 3 for 3 with 2 doubles. And we're running home with Cheryl. Easy peasy. So we have passed that 10 run increment that I was talking about for the mercy rule, but Tusk in DMs did not say anything. Heads up play to immediately tag Wally there. He didn't say anything in DMs about like wanting to stop the game. So Angelique not, I think this is his 9th batter, not threatening at all. So we're just gonna pitch to contact, get her out real quick. I do pitch rather carefully to Jordan here, thinking it would be kind of, you know, I would love to strike him out a 3rd time. This was too far inside the zone, though. At least I positioned it too far inside the zone. Sneak this one out a little bit. That's going to be in there as well. And there is the 3rd strike. Unfortunate this is happening to Jordan, as Jordan is his leadoff man. There's Big Mo. And Gwen makes that grab. So the game is over. And I gave up only 1 hit this game. Great performance from Fernando. Not a complete game, though, from Fernando, because I accidentally put Shucky on the mound to start. I do want to give a shout out to Tusk Hewler for good sportsmanship. There was no like complaining. There was minimal, no complaining in DMs, and there was minimal emoting in the actual backyard baseball game. Taking the screen caps here. So yeah, I mean, I wish Tusk the best of luck over the next 9 weeks. Next up, I believe I have Nata Storm for week 6. He's been missing in action for a while, so that I may not even have an upload next week if he continues to, be MIA. We'll see. We are undefeated. Feel pretty good about that, and in fact, I have sole lead in my division because Tristan, who was the other undefeated coach until just recently, took his first loss, a close game against Bidu, or Bido, however you say his name, my week 1 opponent. So it feels good to be in first, but we got a lot of season left to go. So I will hopefully see everybody next week. Thanks for watching. Take care.